Okay, hello everyone, welcome to this second live session. Myself Ashish Chaudhary. So you can start asking your questions. In the meantime, I am going through your questions which some of you have asked in the forum today. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, please start writing your questions here. Yeah, so good morning. So lot of the participants are asking this question, that is it sufficient to just cover the assignment questions? Will the questions in the exams will be of similar sort and so on? Yeah, the difficulty level of the questions in the final exam will be almost the same as it is in the assignment. So we will have three sections. One section will have recall type of questions where you are supposed to just answer the questions based on the definitions, and one section of questions will be based on similar things, similar concepts which we have studied in the assignment. And these two sections will more or less cover more than 60% of your, more than 50% of your final exam. The last 50% will be slightly tricky. So even in the assignments, we have 5 questions. The division was one question is simple definition type, where you are supposed to answer the question based on the definition. 2 questions are based on recall type, where based on the things which we have studied in the lectures, you have to answer them. And 2 questions are basically slightly challenging. So same format will be followed even for the final exam. So I don't know why students keep on asking this question, whether studying from this portion is sufficient, studying that portion is sufficient and all. The exam level will be same. And again, I can't give you anything regarding the percentage of numerical question and all. First of all, there is nothing called numerical question. The whole concept, the whole course was proof based, where you are supposed to prove certain thing is secure or not. Right. So let me first go through the questions which are there in the discussion forum posted today. Okay. Yes. So how to get solution of assignment questions and from where to practice them. Again and again, it has been posted on the forum. Please ask your questions in the forum itself, discuss among yourself. If you still don't get the answer, we will be happy to give you the answers. And whatever questions students have posted till now, we have religiously answered them. So Shikhar, I can't help you now at the last moment. I cannot provide you all the answers for all the assignments. Will there be some questions directly from assignments of the 12 weeks? Yes, directly in the sense, word by word, they may not be the same, but slight modifications of the questions which are there in the 12-week assignments. Okay, so there will be one whole section of questions whose difficulty level or which will be very similar to the type of questions which we have solved in the assignment. Um, Vivek Dabra, in the proof of birthday attack, why we are considering q less than equal to square root of 2n? Nice question. So if you go through the if I recall the so if adversary queries or adversary makes
Must hear it over.
so if
That-
am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So if the adversary makes q number of queries, q number of hash function queries, then we know that the probability of collision is at least q times q minus 1 over 4n. So this approximately I can say as same as q square over 4n. Okay, right? And if we so this was derived under the assumption that q is less than equal to root 2n. So only if q is less than equal to square root of 2n, then we get this lower bound. Okay, and basically this assumption was used to simplify the derivation. If you don't make this assumption, the overall expression will look slightly complicated, right? So that's why just to simplify the overall expression, to simplify the derivation, we derived this assumption. Now whether you use this assumption or not, that doesn't matter. If you don't use this assumption, the resulting expression will be slightly tricky, slightly complicated. But the main fact is that if we make this assumption that q is less than equal to root of 2n, then we have a nice looking expression. And then this shows that if n is small, then this probability becomes a constant. Okay. In fact, if we take this condition q less than equal to root of 2n, then this almost becomes as 2 times n over 4 times n, which is roughly half. That means almost 50% chance is there for the adversary to find a collision, right? So the whole purpose of the birthday attack was that to show the importance or the significance of the large size of the codomain. If the codomain size is not sufficiently large, that means if the value of n is very small, then even by evaluating the hash function on some distinct number or arbitrary number of inputs, there is a good enough chance to find a collision in the underlying hash function. So that was the whole purpose of the uh, birthday attack. Okay. So see, I am not going to answer questions regarding the pattern of the exam. I stated it clearly at the beginning. There will be 3 sections. Okay, there will be total 50 questions. 25 questions are very basic questions, very simple questions. Okay, 10 questions are simply asking you to test your definitions. 15 questions are very, very similar to what we have asked in the assignment. They constitute 25 questions overall and 50% of the total weightage of the exam. Now the remaining 25 questions will be slightly tricky, similar to the difficult questions we had in the assignments. Okay. Now I am not going to address any question related to the question format, assignment format, exam format. Okay. If you have any technical questions, please free to utilize this live session. Okay. We had 12 weeks. We had enough number of discussion weeks, which whatever questions were asked in the discussion forum, we have religiously answered all the questions. If you have any further questions regarding the technical concepts, please utilize this discussion forum. Okay, and again, it will be very difficult to recall specific assignment questions if you ask me at this moment. Okay, in the live session, but I will still try to. Okay, because it's very difficult to recall the exact question and exact solution for that question. So let me go back to the questions which are asked today morning in the forum. Uh, Again, regarding the exam center, so I replied to one of the mails yesterday in the discussion forum that there was some delay from the NPTEL office regarding uh, allotment of the exam card, admit card and all. They are now doing it because there was slight confusion regarding collision with the JEE exam and so on. JEE exams have been postponed, so now they are going with the exams as per the earlier schedule. I cannot help you regarding the exam center changes and all those things because those are not things under my control. You have to please contact the NPTEL team only, IIT Madras team. Is it sufficient we study the book, Scott Lindell and your video? Yes, it is sufficient. But again, I cannot guarantee you that, okay, just by reading them, you will be able to get 100% or 40% or 50%, whatever is the criteria. This question is by Devisha Aruna Devi, and you are a PhD scholar. I am very surprised at being a PhD scholar. How can you ask questions of this sort? And what for the hell you are doing PhD? You are doing PhD, that means this crypto is definitely one of the topics, one of your research topics. So you should not worry about what kind of questions will be asked, how many questions, etc., etc. Your whole purpose should be to learn this course. Okay, learn the concept. Otherwise, what kind of research you will do as part of your PhD? Even after watching lectures, I can't seem to complete assignments correctly. Please share how we can pass the exams. There is no recipe for that. Okay, no one can tell you that if you do this, if you do that. You have to practice more and more problems, understand the concepts in a better way. Okay. Again, there was a question regarding we got ill, COVID. Again, those things, medical conditions and all those things. Please, these are not the things under my control. I can't help in all those things. Assignment 11, question 3. So again, I requested to please post the questions earlier so that in the discussion forum itself so that I can go through the questions. But let me still try to answer this question, assignment 11, question 3. So the question was the following, that you have a signature scheme for signing messages of length n by 2 bits, and this is given to you, and this is secure. Secure means no adversary can forge the signature without knowing the signing key. All those things are guaranteed for this scheme. That means as long as the document length is n by 2 bits, it's fine. You can sign it securely. But now I have a new application where my document lengths will be n bits, not n by 2 bits. Okay, so call this existing scheme as pi. I want a new scheme, want a scheme pi prime to sign n bit messages. Okay, now we want to use the existing scheme pi to design this scheme pi prime. So generally the naive approach one will follow is the following. Since you know to securely sign n by 2 bit messages, why can't you divide your message, the bigger message, into two chunks of n by 2 bits? Okay, sign using pi the first n by 2 bits, sign using pi the last n by 2 bits, and that will be the overall signature on the message. So it's like saying that I am now have a bigger page. I divide that page into two halves. I sign the first half, I sign the second half. For signing the first half, I use a pair of signing key and verification key. So say the keys which I use for signing the upper part is VK0 and SK0, not signing. So the verification key is VK0, the signing key is SK0, and I use another key, independent key pair VK1, SK1 for signing the second half. And now you will think intuitively that okay, the method for signing n by 2 bits is secure. So basically I am now running two instances of secure mechanism, so this overall mechanism should be secure. The answer is no. There is a very simple mix and match attack. Okay, what the adversary can do, he can see a signature on some message M1 which has two parts. Okay, that means in the training phase he has seen the signature on M1, and say in the training phase he has seen a signature on M2 which again consists of two halves of n by 2 bits. That means he has seen me signing M1, he has seen me signing M2. Now he can prepare a new document M3. Okay, now he can prepare a new document M3 whose first half is the first half of M1 and whose second half is the second half of M2. Now this document M3 I never signed, but adversary has seen collectively the signature of mine on M1 and M2. That means he has seen my signature on the first half of M1, which he can put it here, which is the first half of M3, and he has seen me signing this entire M2. That means he know my signature on the second part of M2, which he can copy here, and then he can produce this document M3 on my behalf and show to everyone that I have signed it, which I have not signed, and that this is clearly a breach of security. So this two independent ways of signing n by 2 bits and combining it together doesn't work, even though intuitively it looks like that it will work. So this is not a secure way of signing. Okay. Right. So now let me see. Are there any technical questions? So Anand Pai, what exactly you want to know regarding the confusion diffusion concept? Oh, Vivek Davra, you are saying there is another part of the same question. Sorry. Let me again read the question. Yeah, of course, adversary can advantage greater than that, but lower bound tells you that okay, that's a minimum thing he can always do. That's the minimum thing he can always do. That's the least thing adversary can always. Uh, that's the least harm the adversary can always cause to your hash function. So that's why better increase the size of the codomain. Of course, adversary can brute force over the entire codomain itself if his computing power is that much. So whenever we say lower bound, that means the minimum thing which the adversary can do. Okay. Okay, so Anand Bhai, how we can define confusion diffusion in the case of SPN? How it is used in these two constructions? So, is your question that how confusion diffusion is actually getting instantiated using in SPN? Is that the question? In the meanwhile, if still Anand is typing his question, uh, can you explain how do we find secure PRG in numericals? Well, you have to check whether the definition is satisfied or not. Can you please with example? Uh, we have already seen lots of examples regarding secure PRGs in the course, right? Any specific example you would like me to discuss regarding MCQ type questions? Yes, there could be MCQ type questions, but all the questions are multiple choice questions only. There are no subjective questions. For a scheme to be COA secure, is it necessary that it must be CPA secure? No, not necessary. We have schemes which are just COA secure but which are not CPA secure. But other way around, it is always true. A scheme which is CPA secure. See, COA security, CPA security, CCA security, they are again different types of adversaries. COA security is a security guaranteed against the most weakest form of adversary, where adversary just eavesdrops your communication. CPA security is against a more powerful adversary, where the adversary has access to the encryption oracle, apart from just observing the communication. CCA security means now the adversary has access to two kinds of oracles apart from accessing just a ciphertext. Right? So anything which is highest kind of secure, that means secure against the most powerful kind of adversary. So you CCA attacker, you imagine that an attacker which has rocket launchers, bombs, etc., where a COA security means your attacker has just sticks with him or her. So anything which is secure against a sophisticated attacker will be always secure against the lesser sophisticated attacker. So anything which is CCA secure, of course, will be CPA secure, and that will be, of course, COA secure. But just because a scheme is COA secure, that means it provides you security against a very weaker adversary. That need not mean it provides you security even against a powerful adversary like uh, CPA attacker or CCA attacker. There is no specific test which you can always run on any secure PRG and find out whether it is a PRG or not. That's not the way any cryptographic algorithm is analyzed. You have to understand the intuition, what exactly the algorithm is trying to do, and see whether anyone can distinguish the outcome of that algorithm from the behavior, expected behavior of a true random number generator? Are there any patterns in the outcomes of the true so-called PRG which you have designed? If there is no pattern available which you can exploit in polynomial amount of time intuitively, then that looks like a secure scheme. And I request people please here not to write unnecessary questions, otherwise I will go sign off this live session. Regarding negative marking, there is no negative marking, but if you select wrong answers along with correct answers, then you will be provided 0 for that particular question. Okay. See, I have to scroll these questions again and again, so please I request all the participants not to write unnecessary questions here. That will simply lead to wastage of time. Let the people who want to ask genuine questions use this live session fruitfully. Okay. I have to scroll the questions and then go to each and every question. So a scheme is COA secure if and only if it is KPA secure. See, if you take if it is KPA secure, definitely it is COA. See, whenever I say if and only if and only if means the implication should hold in both the directions. Okay. So definitely a scheme which is KPA secure or CPA secure will be of course COA secure. But other way implication may not be true. So that's why this is not an if and only if statement. Whenever I make an if and only if statement, right, the implicate this. So if I write an if and only if statement, so this means P implies Q has to be true and Q implies P has to be true. Okay. I is CPA secure. This is wrong because if pi is CPA secure, then it implies it is COA secure. This is fine, but the other way implication is not correct. If pi is COA secure, it implies pi is CPA secure. This is wrong. This is not correct. So for example, stream ciphers, they are COA secure. The PRG based constructions, they are COA secure because they are deterministic, but they are definitely not CPA secure because they are deterministic encryption schemes. So that's why this by implication is wrong. So there is no relationship as far as necessary and sufficient condition is concerned between two notions of security. You might have implications in one direction, but the other direction implication may not be always correct. Okay. Question number 3 of assignment 11 has been already discussed. I just discussed few minutes back. Okay, that if you are breaking your documents into two halves and individually signing the two halves, then that's not a secure way of signing the overall document, because there is always a mix and match attack where the adversary can, where say the adversary has seen me signing on Monday a document consisting of two halves. Tuesday he has seen me signing again another document consisting of two halves. Then it can prepare a new document on my behalf whose first half is the first half of the first message and the second half is the second half of the second message, and just he has to copy my signatures on the first half and second half on these two parts from the previous documents which I have signed, and that will be my signature on the new message which I never signed. So that's a forgery. Okay, so that's not a secure way of signing. So for what Vivek Dabra has the question that why 1 over n power 10 is not negligible. These are very simple questions. I fail to understand that why the notion of negligible is not clear. Okay. Why 1 over n power 10 is not negligible? What's the definition of negligible function? In order that 1 over n power 10 is negligible, it has to be strictly less than the inverse of every polynomial function. So is 1 over n power 10 less than 1 over n? Yes. Is 1 over n power 10 less than 1 over n square? Yes. Like that is 1 over n power. Of course, when I say less than, that means I am talking about for large values of n, because even in the algorithms asymptotic notations, we talk about for large values of n. So when I am writing 1 over n power 10 is less than 1 over n, n square and so on, of course for large values of n. 1 over n power 10 is less than 1 over n power 10. Well, we don't know. But what about n power 10 less than 1 over n power 11? This is simply wrong, because for large values of n, and when I say large values of n, that means that is for some capital N such that for all small n greater than equal to n. What exactly is this value of capital N? You can easily find out. 1 over n power 10 is definitely not less than 1 over n power 11. So that's why this function is not a negligible function. Okay. The analogy of birthday collision is the same. It is there in your slides, right? If I randomly put people in a class and then try to find out that what is the probability that two people were born on the same date, ignoring the years, then the probability will be very high if there are sufficiently many number of uh, students in the class. Okay, that's basically the analogy you can think of. So again, if I remember, if you have say 27 students in the class randomly, okay, then the probability that two of them were born on the same day is at least half. Or if you want a better analogy, then if you want a better analogy, then a better analogy could be that say I am picking out cards randomly out of the 52 cards, where again after taking out a card I am putting back. This basically the replacement is allowed. Then once I have drawn, say, so many number of cards, what's the probability that two cards were repeated? So that's an analogy. In the context of hash function, we are evaluating the hash function randomly, and we want to find out what's the probability that we got two similar outputs. As the size of the sample increases, no, not the size of the sample. The collision probability increases. The whole purpose of birthday attack was to show that if I don't make my codomain sufficiently large, then just by making some small number of queries, the adversary's chances of finding collision becomes significantly large. Okay. See, it is not possible to discuss the specific assignment questions in this live session at the last moment. Okay, I have requested several times in the forum over the last 1 or 2 weeks that please post your questions, and we will be better equipped to explain you the answer. In this short span of time, it's not possible to go through specific questions, specific answers, and so on. If you have doubts regarding some specific questions like what exactly is birthday paradox, why one security notion does not imply another security notion, why this particular function is not negligible, I can answer those questions in a better way. You have not utilized the last 12 weeks. You are now asking questions regarding week 1, week 2, week 3. How come it is possible to answer such specific questions in this short span of time? Okay. Assignment 2, question 3. But it's not even possible to access the question right now because I do not have access to the internet right now. Means on my laptop where the questions are there. I can't see the questions right now by logging in here. Assignment 2, question 3. I think in one of the discussion forums, it has been answered by TA that why question 3 in assignment 2 is not secure. Okay. Okay, let me try to answer this. So, if the construction G1S, which is defined to be G of S concatenated with G of S plus 2 is secure. Assume this is secure. This is a secure PRG. Assume. Okay. Now I construct another PRG, say G2S. This is not there in the question. Okay. Where I substitute G of S by G2 of S. That means sorry, by G1 of S. Sorry. That means my G2 of S is G1 of S concatenated with G1 of S plus 2. See, basically what exactly this question asks you to do. It says that, okay, if you have an existing secure PRG, then what happens if I use the PRG 2 times and concatenate the output in the following way? I run the PRG as it is, and then I run the PRG with the seed being incremented by 2 times, and then concatenate the output. Will this give me a new secure PRG? What I am trying to show here is that this is not a secure way, because if this is a secure way, then I can run the same procedure and construct another PRG G2 where I run the same process of running the PRG 2 times with the second instance seed being incremented by 2 on G1 itself. And this G2 will be nothing but, it will be G of S concatenated with G of S plus 2. Okay. And this second output will be G of S plus 2 concatenated with G of S plus 4. So what we get here, the conclusion, the implication we can draw here from the following, that if G1S is a secure PRG, then so is G2S. But this implication is completely wrong, because if you see the output of G2S, then the second and the third output blocks are always going to be same, which you don't expect from a true random number generator. If I run a true random number generator 4 times independently, then the first block output, second block output, third block output, fourth block output are going to be different with high probability. But when I run G2S like this, I know that the second output block and the third output block are going to be almost same. So that means if this G1S method is secure, then so should be G2S method, because the method just changes the instantiation of the G, that's all. I am treating G1 as a secure instantiation of secure G, but that's not going to give me a secure PRG. So that's why the construction G1S is not a secure PRG. Okay. Can we say that if the individual PRGs in the composition should have their own individual seeds or randomness, then only composition of them will give me? Yes, in most of the cases, but again there might be some stupid ways of instantiating the PRGs with independent seed and independent randomness, but a bad way of composing them. What could be that bad way of composing them? That I am unable to think instantly right now. Okay. The DH key exchange is based on the DDH assumption. Okay, you cannot directly prove that if D-log assumption is true, or if the D-log problem is difficult to solve, then the Diffie-Hellman key exchange protocol is secure. And this I have elaborated a lot during the lecture itself. We require the security, we require the DDH assumption to hold, because finally, to prove the security, so if you recall the DH key exchange protocol, so what adversary knows? It knows G power alpha, it knows G power beta, and the final key was G power alpha beta. This was the thing unknown to the attacker. we cannot say that, so we cannot say the following, that if D log is difficult, then with the knowledge of G power alpha, G power beta, adversary cannot compute G power alpha beta. No, we cannot claim this. Of course, one of the ways for finding G power alpha beta will be to solve the D log problem, find out alpha, find out beta, and then yourself compute G power alpha beta. That's one of the ways for finding the keys G power alpha beta. But that need not be the only way through which adversary can find out G power alpha beta. Rather, we can say the following. If DDH assumption holds, then it implies that with the knowledge of G power alpha, G power beta, the final key G power alpha beta is like a random element for the adversary. And that's precisely is my DDH assumption actually. Okay. So even though D log is necessary, D log assumption is necessary for proving the security of Diffie-Hellman key exchange, it is not sufficient. So as I said, it's not possible. So again and again, people are asking for detailed uh, solutions for the assignments. We have purposely avoided giving that because we wanted the participants to discuss among themselves the question itself after the particular week is over. I never saw any kind of discussion happening among the participants. Okay, and if we provide you all the solutions, then what exactly you have done? How do I know that you have thought enough about the problems? What exactly was your thought process and so on? So you are supposed to discuss, and wherever there is little bit of discussion happening in the forum, the TAs and myself have pitched in and helped the participant to understand the particular question. Okay. Which topic has the maximum weightage in the exam? The entire syllabus. Okay. I am fed up with answering this question. Okay. Focus on PRFs, PRGs. They are the central thing regarding the symmetric key crypto because everything is based on PRGs and PRFs, right from your max and everything. And for public key crypto, you can focus on discrete log, DDH, and those things. That basically covers more than 50 or to 60% of your syllabus. So there was this question on hardcore predicate. So basically, what hardcore predicate tries to, I don't think whether you have attended the first live session. We had this question on hardcore predicate in the first live session, where I explained it in an elaborate fashion. So whenever I say I have a one-way function, that does not mean that you cannot find anything regarding the input just based on the output. So for instance, you might be able to find the parity of the first bit or the parity of the last bit and so on, even though my function is a one-way function. So hardcore predicate basically tries to model which specific piece of information about the input is definitely guaranteed to be difficult to compute just based on the output of that function. And different functions may have different hardcore predicate. Okay. Pramod Yadav, again, at the last moment, it's not possible for us to come up with extra practice questions. Okay, it's very difficult. First of all, uh, in cryptography, we do not have textbooks, and unlike data structures and discrete mathematics, where you have bunch of tons of problems to practice, we don't have those many problems. Even the problems in the assignments, we have to come up, we have to cook up. And I can't directly take the problems in the card cylinder and give it to you as practice problems, because if you are struggling with these basic questions where I just play around with the definition a little bit and all, I don't know how you will practice with those questions. Okay. So someone asked me what could be the best way to pass the exam and all. The best way would have been if after every week the participants would have discussed rigorously on the discussion forum what exactly, why this question is right, this is the way I have done it, this is the way I have taught it. Someone else would have pitched in and then say no, this is, that's the way you could have learned. Now you are coming and asking me, please tell me this particular question. Even if I tell you the answer, it's not the case that you have understood the concept. Prefix free set, it's slightly difficult because I have to recall the definition of prefix free set. Just let me uh, try to recall it. Let me see the slide. Sorry, Anand, I am unable to recall the exact definition of prefix. Because I know the definition, but exact construction right now is not coming to my mind. As I tried to open the presentation and I have to go through it and I have to understand. I will try to answer your query on the forum if possible. Okay. In the short, if you, since you are asking me instantly, it's slightly difficult for me. Okay. Yeah, I know it is used to construct MAC for long messages because you have this prefix-free encoding and yeah, but the exact construction it's not coming to me right now. Yeah, I'm please. I'm not going to answer questions regarding the format of the exam. I have already utilized a lot of time to query this, and I have to now sign off. If you have more questions, uh, please post on the discussion forum. But I'm not guaranteeing that we will be able to answer all the questions with just 2 or 3 days before the exam. Okay, you have not utilized sufficiently the last 12 weeks, but still over the last 2 3 days we are trying to answer as many queries as possible. Wishing you all the best for the exam. Okay.